just want you to know I'm not trying to I'm not really trying to be like contrarian or anything.
I mean, I'm already nervous because this is going to be tricky because I think we're going to talk about movies that I exclusively love. Like, I think I love all of the movies we're going to talk about.
Yeah, there's going to be some shitting on your like dreams or childhood or whatever. There's going to be some, I don't know. I mean, well, let's explain what so this is Chicago movies.
We're going to talk about Chicago. Last week we did Boston. A lot of people are upset, by the way. People are upset we didn't do Spotlight or The Fighter. The Fighter I'm going to push back on because the Fighter is Lowell, Massachusetts, which is about 45 minutes north of Boston. Or maybe it's a half hour. Someone's going to call me and be like, you piece of shit. But Lowell is its own city.
But Boston likes to really think it's all Boston, right? Like it has a big reach in a lot of people's minds, right?
Yeah, I started saying I'm from New England. I started comedy in Boston because it does get embarrassing when you're like, I'm from Boston. People are like, where? And they're like, New Hampshire. Like, I mean, it's literally a different state.
Though they should combine. It's not, New Hampshire's not necessary, don't you think? I feel like New Hampshire should combine with Massachusetts or Vermont. I feel like there's a lot of states that should combine. Yeah, I forgot about Spotlight. Spotlight's good. Yeah, that's a good one. You know, I feel like it's really entertaining. I think it's tough when they don't really show the priests, you know, so you don't really see the villains themselves, you know.
You want to see the kid fucking is what
I want to see the kid fucking. I felt like it was really, you know, that's why I'm watching. I felt very deprived. But yeah, Spotlight's really good.
Spotlight is great, except one scene. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, so I might fuck up the part. I just remember it's the big reveal, the big moment. They need kind of the climax, and they need this old guy who's been protecting it, and they're outside by the car.
Michael Keaton and the old guy.
Yeah, and that scene, I can't remember the detail because I haven't seen it in a while. I remember being over the top and being like, well, this is ridiculous. The guy stunk. He was like, well, I will never, or whatever he did. It just sticks in the back of my ass that there was something he did that I was like, oh, yuck. It became like melodramatic.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. But there's an amazing scene where they go to that one priest, that's why I kind of wanted more priests in it. Do you remember the part where she goes up to the door and goes, yeah, we've had some allegations that you like molested kids, and you think the priest is gonna be like, get away from me. That's not true. The priest is like, yeah, I did it. But you gotta understand, I didn't take any enjoyment from it. Like I got no pleasure. Do you remember that part?
I kind of remember. That sounds like me with comedy. I'm like, yeah, I did the Omaha Funny Bone, but I hated it.
I took no pleasure. Yeah, Spotlight's good. I would have put it, you know, third or whatever.
And you sure I sound all right? Because I'm blasting to like max when I talk.
Well, I mean, you sound right from my end, but I'm controlling my own volume, right? So
good point.
Like, right? I'm just hearing. I mean, can you lower yours?
I turned it down a little bit on the Zoom, but I don't know what the fuck. But so you can hear me and I can hear you.
I can hear you fine. Yeah,
right,
evident of the conversation we just had.
That's a good point. Well, but it's possible that I'm blasting out your little new ears, or you can't.
I mean, I'm very deaf, though. That's the thing. I'm very deaf.
Oh, really?
Yeah. From listening to that Townes Van Sant on full volume all these years, really hurt my eardrums. Yeah, that's why I'm so loud. I'm loud on stage because I can't like hear. I don't think I can hear laughter very well, so I like have to be like louder and
could be your bits, but
it's purely the deafness.
You're like, I think I'm going deaf. I couldn't hear anything out there.
Remember how we used to back when we used to do live comedy? We'd always like if we felt like a show didn't do well, we'd always complain about the layout of the room, like the chairs were too spread out. We'd always go right into that, or at least I would. I'd be like, there was couches in the back, or the chairs are spaced out too much. That's why I didn't do as well.
Well, of course. Well, that's the thing, though. This is where I get mad. This is where I hate fucking Seinfeld, who's like, people always blame the audience. I just didn't do well. I hate that speech and all those speeches. You're like, well, of course it's the audience. I'm doing material that kills. Like I'm doing a material and it's eating it. Something's going wrong. It's not the jokes, as I have recordings of the jokes doing. It's not like I was like, went to a bar. I'm saying the bits.
Well, it's like, I guess it's like no one's wrong. It's just like a bad date. Like we're not right for each other. This audience is not right for me, right? Isn't that what it is? I don't know. Yeah,
we're not comedically compatible. But anyway, so we got recommendations for Chicago.
Yes.
And I've always been I remember being a kid, like a teenager, and being like, "Whoa! All my favorite movies take place in Chicago."
Oh, really?
Now, so this is going to be weird because I'm talking about movies that I've loved since I was 11, and you're talking about movies you watched when you were 37. So it might be a little tricky, but we're going to get into Chicago.
Right. Well, this goes into there's a couple movies we're talking about, but two of the movies are Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Blues Brothers. And I just want to say off the bat before getting into them, which I've never seen Blues Brothers, and I had seen Ferris Bueller so long ago I don't remember it. But I will just say off the bat, I think 80s comedies as a rule are generally overrated. I think everyone's like, it's amazing, you got to watch it. You watch it, and there's like one joke, and then a girl gets gang raped, and they think that's like a bit. It's just like Ghostbusters is not funny. Like there's one funny line, and then it's like a lot of them are just like adventure movies, and they're not funny. And then the only thing that holds up in the 80s, in my opinion, are Albert Brooks comedies and the Zucker brothers. I think those are all like the great movies, but Meatballs can go fuck itself. I've never seen it, but I'm sure it sucks. I'm sure I don't find John Candy funny. I don't get John Belushi. I think Bill Murray's overrated. I don't get 80s. I don't get 80s comedy. But that being said, I watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is one of your favorites?
First of all, I want to retort to everything you just said. Because
we're moving on.
I agree with like half of that. I agree the 80s that they don't hold up that well. Stripes is very funny for the first half. Everyone says the same thing about Stripes. The second half is Louisville, ridiculous.
By the way, first part.
No kidding.
Yeah.
The second half is horrible when they leave boot camp. The boot camp stuff is funny, even though Bill Murray gets to have his full hair. It doesn't really make sense. I think John Candy's great in that. Not thinking John Candy is funny is one of the most absurd things I've ever seen.
He's just like likable. He's just like a nice guy and shit.
He's unbelievably funny in Home Alone. He steals the show in Home Alone.
I don't get it.
Great in Blues Brothers. I mean, he's
Planes and Trains and Automobiles is one of the most overrated movies. People act like it's like one of the great tear-jerking movies. That movie sucks when they're in the bed cuddling and then they have to jump up and pretend like, oh, baseball, like it's just
football.
Like stupid football, whatever. It's just stupid humor.
But you didn't watch him as a kid or something? You watched him later as like an adult, I think. Something.
I guess it's it. I don't. Yeah, this is the problem because I don't have that nostalgic. I mean, you're not that much older than me, but apparently, John, I guess it wasn't the movies I was watching as a kid. But I turned on, yeah, and Dan Aykroyd's, what is it? I don't get it.
I agree on Aykroyd. I agree on Belushi.
Have Aykroyd ever said something funny? Like, have you ever like said something where people laughed?
I completely agree.
I don't get
Aykroyd's
it.
overrated. Belushi way overrated. I agree with those things. Stripes is overrated.
What is Belushi's whole thing? Like, just I know people say I look like him a lot, like or like it's just a fat thing, I guess. But like, I just don't get it. I don't. Maybe it's SNL. I don't get like SNL or I love Steve Martin.
Martin, you really nailed that. Martin.
I have a weird impediment where I overemphasize T's. Did you not know that?
I guess I've heard it.
Manhattan.
Before.
Yeah, I've been made fun of it my whole life.
Okay, but I want to go back to Ghostbusters. I completely agree with you. I remember them hearing like the black guy was supposed to be Eddie Murphy, and I'm like, well, that would have been fun. That would have been Eddie Murphy's funny, and that guy's not funny.
That guy's not funny.
Bill Murray is the only funny part of the movie. Literally every other character is unfunny.
Not funny. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, it's just stupid. It's not funny. I don't understand what they thought was funny in a lot of 80s. I guess I don't. Or was it trying to be funny? A lot of it is like more of like action, or 80s is all adventure comedies, which I feel like is a cop out because it's a way where you just, instead of writing jokes, you could just have car crashes for like half the movie,
All right, so we're getting into Blues Brothers.
Well, let me talk Ferris first.
Okay? We'll talk Ferris first, but I'll just say this about Ferris. It is in my top 10 favorite films of all time, and it is the biggest influence and inspiration in my life. It's a life-changing piece of work for me.
And I can see why.
I might have to mute you while you talk, and then the audience can hear it. But I think it's massive.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Me too. But you're Cameron. We both are.
Well, I think I have a lot of. I mean, I did that as a joke before. I was like, my whole life I wanted to be Ferris Bueller. I ended up as Cameron Fry. But
I mean, I don't think you ended up. I think you began that way. Right?
Yes, and ended up as Ferris. I'm the put the things together guy. I'm the park hang guy. I'm the let's go hiking guy. I'm the party guy.
Well, let's say it like this. I mean, everyone is both of them, right? Everyone is both. It's like two parts of your brain, Cameron and Ferris,
You're
right?
already getting into the brilliance of the film.
Because it's the part of your brain that wants to have fun and enjoy life at every moment. You know you're gonna die. You want to enjoy the moments, and the part that just has anxiety ruining it at all times.
Right. And also, I mean, I gotta say again, like, I mean, call me Cameron. I mean, I moved out of my house. I've been gone since I was 20 years old. I've been to 37 countries.
Well, it's not just you.
States.
It's not just you. It's me too. It's me too. It's we are like, I feel like Cameron is. I feel like for a lot of people, we want to be Ferris. That's like the ideal we want to live up to, but we're not. We're Cameron, right?
So you're saying you think the movie's fantastic?
As I'm saying this analysis, I'm like, there is interesting stuff in the movie. And I want to say when I started watching it, I thought it was really funny. I was like laughing hysterically in the opening. He's like a precursor to Max Fisher. Like some of the shit he says, the part where he's on the phone with the freshman, he just turns to the camera. It's like, freshman. Like, it's just like the idea of him saying that. There's some like really funny shit right away. And I also forgot that Matthew Broderick you're just waiting for me to say something bad. I forgot that Matthew Broderick has been so nebbishy for so long. I forgot he was cool.
Yeah, he was the coolest. I mean, what's cooler than killing somebody because you're driving while getting roadhead? I mean, somebody was sucking his dick, and as a result, he killed a person.
Is that true?
That's true. Jennifer Grey was blowing him in Dublin, and he fucking killed like a family.
That is definitely a Ferris Bueller move where you just like, you go on, you know, we're just having a fun day, you know, no consequences, you know. It'd be so funny if like they ran the kid over and then you just hear that 80s whatever music that bow. Bow, bow. So I thought the beginning was hilarious. I thought it was really funny. At a certain point, there's no plot. They're just sightseeing in Chicago. And I guess I kind of was surprised how plotless it was.
That's insane.
Then the principal is so crazy. I guess I don't fully get. I wish. Here's the thing, and I'm not saying it's a completely bad movie, but I wish they went into the. You know how an election, and I know it's not Election, the greatest comedy of all time, or one of them. But you know how an election, Matthew Broderick once again is like. He's trying to pretend his life is really fun, but you know he hates it. And then he sees Reese Witherspoon and her ambition is like an insult to his whole life, you know?
Okay, so back to this plotless claim. Just insanity.
It's like they're just sightseeing. Like there's one part where they're just showing paintings in the museum. It's like, is it just like a Chicago tour? Like it's just like cutting to paintings. I don't know. It seemed a little plotless what they're doing, you know?
This is so fascinating to me because you're so wise, you're so smart, and you're such a great, what do you call it? Consumer of art and understanding. I mean, Irishman, you got me fully turned around. I've watched it twice since the last time we recorded.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and then I'm talking to Louis and he's like, it's a piece of shit. And I'm like, you don't know, man. And so you got me on board with the Irishman. But this is insane. I mean, the painting is so beautiful. He's looking at this painting. He keeps looking closer and everything's getting
No, I know
it's
that
a
part.
Contemplative moment. And the plot is, of course, Cameron is stuck in this. I got to accomplish this thing. He's under the thumb of his parents. And Ferris is like, I got to do service for this person. I have to help this person break free. Meanwhile, the principal's like, I got to bust this guy. And just like you said, like Election, the principal is the antithesis of Ferris. He's like, I need control over this person.
I thought it'd be interesting if they set that up a little more. I feel like it became more of a trope than like a real psychological thing with the principal. If they would have shown him kind of a little before he goes on this mission, because some of the shit, first of all, the principal is insane. Like some of the shit he says is just fucking great. Like at one point he just goes, I want in the 15 years when he's in the ruins of his life to think back and realize I'm the one who did it. Like he's just like an insane person, but I don't know if it's just kind of like, it's the trope of the, what do you call it? The authoritarian nemesis, you know? It's not like there's not like real psychology there in my opinion. You know, I think it would be interesting because at a certain point, like, you know, he's breaking it and entering to the house, which is way worse than cutting school. Like that's a much worse. Cutting school is not even a crime. So it's like he's committing B&E. So it's like,
right. That's the depth of the film. I mean, that's the depth of the film. He's representing the authority of like, what you are doing is worse than what we're doing. We're cutting school to have a little fun, to get away from all of this stuff, and they're committing this greater crime. I mean, this is where John Hughes, his movies, there's so much depth to them that you're not even realizing. I mean, Home Alone, you go back, just the one line, how you feel about your family is a complicated thing, is one of the great lines of all time, and Ferris Bueller has so many of them. He's representing authority in all these crimes that are committed, not literal crimes, committed against the youth of America.
But it's a simplistic view to just look at authority and anti-authority in those ways. I think, can I say what I would have done? This is going to really tough. What I would have done if I was writing that movie, which you wrote in a week, by the way, which I don't think any screenplay can be that good if you write in a week. But I would have had the principal showing him bored in his life, right? In his school stuff. So him following Matthew Broderick, that's him trying to have an exciting day too, because he's also cutting his job. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that to me is interesting, because obviously if you actually look at the movie, most of the people in the movie are not doing their job. Like the guy with the car is stealing the car. Ferris Bueller's having his day off, and the principal is not doing his job either, you know? So everyone's having like a day off. I would have been interested to see the principal, see him kind of bored by his routine at school, and under the objective of him trying to catch Ferris Bueller, it's him also trying to have a little escape. I thought that would have been interesting, but instead he's just this fucking insane person, and they don't really go into it. It just doesn't make it. He's just, first of all, also, if your parents say you're sick, I feel like the game's over for a principal at that point.
Well, of course. I mean, it is a comedy. First of all, it sounds like, this is why I'm getting upset. It sounds like you're making the opposite argument that you make in all these other things, where Shawshank, they're just spoon feeding it to you. Into the Wild, they're like, freedom.
Yeah,
they're spoon feeding the thing. You want it spoon fed. You're saying they should have made him bored at work.
No, I want to, not spoon fed. I want to see psychology as opposed to just the trope of the evil principal, which is all it is. It's not like a real character. It's just an evil principal with no psychology. I want to see the psychology, the same psychology. I mean, I know it's a fun, whatever. It's a fun comedy. And actually what? We can say it's trying to be deep. You think it is trying to be deep, so we can judge it. I can judge it in this way, right? Where I want to see it. If you're going to say it's one of the greatest movies, I want to see more psychology. I want to see the psychology Matthew Broderick has. Why does Matthew Broderick hate Reese Witherspoon so much in Election? There's psychology there. I think the only reason he hates Matthew Broderick is because he's just a symbol of authoritarianism, but it's like a dumb kind of trope. I would have liked to see it more like a psychological thing. I think that would have been more interesting and more funny. Him just breaking into the house. First of all, also, he's at that house for like the whole movie. Like he's just like trying to break in for like, I feel like 40 minutes. At a certain point, he comes back. I was like, he's still at the house.
Like, I mean, there could have been less. The weakest parts of the movie are him getting his foot stuck in mud and all that stuff. And those are the weakest parts of the movie. Certainly.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, like, once he's breaking in at that point, you're like, he's not. I get like I get the stakes in the movie are not high. Like all that would really happen in this movie is Matthew Broderick gets in trouble, right?
Right.
But you can still be involved in stakes, no matter, as long as the main character cares about it, we can care about it. But once the principals break into the house, you're like, I feel like he's not like a real threat anymore because he's just lost his mind, you know?
Certainly, yeah. But okay, so I just want to say, amend this. I don't think it's one of the best movies of all time. It's one of my favorite movies, which
okay.
There is a big difference between favorite and best. Like Field of Dreams and Apollo 13 are in my top 10 favorite films, but I don't think Field of Dreams is on par with, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right, yeah. I'd hope not.
That I love watching. But
all your favorite movies are my overrated list of movies, I think.
Well, I can give you my top 10 if you want. I don't think that my top 10
I'll tell you which ones I think are overrated. That, yeah.
Godfather.
Obviously great.
Godfather 2.
Even better.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Great.
Okay. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Do you think is overrated or not?
Well, I don't even know if it's, I don't know how people rate it. Like, I think people think of it just like a fun, I don't know. I guess I think you overrate it.
Okay. Field of Dreams. You probably never even saw it.
I have seen it. It sucks. I hate it. It's conservative hogwash. Overrated.
Field of Dreams is conservative.
Yes.
How could that be? They're hippies. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just family values and like, yeah, I don't know. It just has a conservative feel to it. Wholesomeness.
That doesn't
I
even
guarantee you, it's like every Republican's favorite movie.
No, they're hippies. They're hippies that became what do you call it? Yuppies, and they're trying to get
Yeah.
back the hippie thing.
Well, they're
it's a
trying to get
hippie
back
movie.
the tradition of like baseball in the old days. You know, that's what's conservative. They're trying to conserve the past. But
Okay,
anyway,
pass. Back to the Future.
I don't get it. Well, also another. Also, by the way, another movie. This is an '80s thing where the principal just hates the kid. Like, I never even talked to my principal. I saw her walking by in the hallway. She didn't even talk to students. The principal of Back to the Future, I was rewatching it. He literally says to the kid, "You're a loser, just like your father."
Slacker. First of all, that's because you don't matter. You're Raanan Hirschberg. This is Marty McFly and Ferris Bueller. You would have had a relationship with your principal if you mattered, if you did something.
I guess. I feel like 80s movies really, really overemphasize the relationship between the principal and the individual students, or the need for a principal to destroy an individual student. But anyway, yeah, Back to the Future I don't really get.
So now we're going to get into my 90s favorite, because I know my top 10. I have 3 from the 70s, 3 from the 80s, 3 from the 90s, 1 from the 2000s.
It started a good list, though. The beginning is good.
The 3 Godfathers, great. You love.
3
The 80s
Godfathers.
ones.
What?
The 3 70s movies you love, obviously. Yeah. And then Godfather 3.
I thought you were throwing that in there.
And then the 90s ones you're going to hate. My 90s favorites are obviously Goodfellas. So you're going to be, okay, there you go. Forrest Gump, we talked about. Apollo 13. Where are you in Apollo 13?
I like it. It's very entertaining. I mean, it's corny, but it's very entertaining.
And corny. It's all real. So it's hard to be corny if it's 100%.
The fucking dialogue's not, you know.
I take that back. Because there's some corny shit that's real.
Yeah.
And then of course, No Country for Old Men rounds out the top 10.
One of the masterpieces.
Okay, so more than half you're in complete agreement with.
Yeah. I'm not a fucking asshole. I'm not gonna be here and be like, if I said like The Godfather's overrated, then I'm just like being a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Agreed. I am not a devil's advocate. I want to love movies.
I feel the exact same way. I feel the same way when I talk Sopranos. People are like, "You're trying to do this thing." I'm like, Stevie Van Zandt is a piece of shit actor. I'm sorry.
Right.
Let's not go into The Sopranos.
But it is a thing. Like, people always have said to me, "Are there any movies you like?" And I'm like, first of all, the movies I like more than any movie you ever liked. So I have way more passion in the fucking game. You know what I mean? So like, I've seen Irishman 3 times. I cried all of Roma, like, during it. I watch Nashville every week. Like, you don't, like, people who say, "Are there any movies you like?" They just don't like movies that much. So they're like, "Yeah, it's good. Yeah, they're all good to them," because they don't care. They don't demand something more from the movie.
I feel the exact same way. I think we talked about this on a previous episode, and this is why I think we enjoy talking movies, because I feel the same way. I watch a movie, and I've already said this, but I'm like, I could have just watched Fargo again. This is embarrassing. Your movie's embarrassing. It's a piece of shit. It offends me.
We know what real love of a movie is. We know what it is, so we test everything to that. It's kind of like a good comic. A good comic has had a higher bar for laughs, so they know what a crush is. So a lot of shows are like, "Oh, that was fine." It's like, not to me. I've seen the higher thing, you know.
Bring it to higher love.
But so yeah, we're in agreement. I mean, we have very similar. I think the strengths of our opinions are the same level, but they very differ what they are. But we both have strong opinion. You know what I mean?
Right. And speaking to that, we're a half hour in. We've talked about one movie so far.
Well, let me just get a little into fair. Okay, can we just go back to the prince? I think that principal thing's crazy. He throws this thing on the dog. It's crazy. The fact that the other sister doesn't recognize him is insane to me. Like, just doesn't make sense. You remember that?
What do you mean when she doesn't recognize him?
She like kicks him unconscious, and she's like, "There's an intruder," but she doesn't know who it is.
Well, because they jump out quick, and she just responds. First of all, it's one of the biggest laughs of my life. The triple kick is amazingly funny, unbelievably funny.
It was like an airplane Naked Gun kind of kick. It was like
so funny. I mean, the idea that she kicked 3 times that rapidly, you're dying laughing right now. I mean, it's gold, absolute gold. She runs upstairs, so she doesn't know who he is, and it is an intruder.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like she would still recognize him in that moment. And mom's
she saves Ferris in the end. It's beautiful.
I mean, saves him from what? That principals go to jail. I don't understand what he's like on the depth. Like, "I've caught you now. What do you mean he's caught him? He's like broken into the house. Like it's like she's not really. It doesn't make sense. None of that part makes sense at all.
But that's the tone of the movie. It's over the top a lot of times. It's not like, because I'm like this sometimes with some movies where I'm watching a movie and all of a sudden the guy's swinging from the rooftop and I'm like, what? He would fucking throw up or die, whatever. The tone of this movie, I mean, Ferris goes onto a float and nobody stops. They just sing and dance with him. I mean, there is some stretching of the imagination here.
A lot of 80s movies like to become musicals halfway through, as I've noticed from Blues Brothers. Yeah, I guess I needed to make a little sense. Like, what could the principal have actually done in that moment? Like, bring the parents back. I found out I knocked your dog unconscious. I broke through your house and I found him faking it upstairs. Like, I just don't understand. It just makes so little sense that it's hard to like, kind of like follow at all. And I do think we should probably go on to other movies. So I just want to sum up. I think the shit with Cameron's good. And I think Matthew Broderick's an interesting character. But I think overall my problem is that Matthew Broderick, Ferris Bueller is a dick, right? Or he's very self-centered. And Cameron is very guarded. And you want to see both characters grow, right? But the problem is Cameron grows at the end. But Ferris Bueller doesn't. It turns out Ferris Bueller is just right about everything. It's almost as if Ferris Bueller himself made the movie. And that part, like, you know, like in Rushmore, Max Fisher kind of grows at the end. There's a sense of like, you know, he's still like a narcissist, but he's risen above all his narcissism. I don't think like with this movie, they delve deep enough into Ferris Bueller because he ends up just being right. And then we're supposed to act like he does the whole thing for his friend, even though we know he's like, we know it's not all for his friend. Like we've watched him the whole time. It's not all for his friend, but he tries to like act like that is. And so he's so right at the end. It almost felt like he didn't really get to grow. So he didn't really delve as deep into him, you know, his issues.
Well, I think a lot of it is for his friend. He was going to continue to live that life and he has fun and he lives his life and does what he wants to do. And on that day, he said, I'm going to bring this guy along. And he does. What happens with the friend? He changes because of Ferris. He did. He helped him.
I guess I don't like seeing a movie where the main character is just, it turns out at the end, he's right about everything. I guess I feel like there's a lack of depth there.
You need a character to be flawed.
Yes. And Ferris Bueller is flawed, but halfway through the movie pretends he's not.
Right.
Like that's, yeah, I need a character to be flawed because humans are flawed. No human is just right about everything. And like the fact that he's right at the end suggests like a lack of, I don't know. That's where it's like, I would have rather seen two friends like battle it out and maybe they both grow in the process or they don't grow. They don't have to grow, but I want the movie to go beyond just being the complete point of view of one of the characters. You know what I mean?
I do agree that Rushmore is a masterpiece.
It's like, you know what it is? You ever hear someone tell you a story and they're just right about everything in the story and you realize the story is bullshit because you can't be right about everything?
Of course, yeah.
It's a little like that at the end. He's just completely right, you know? So in a way, it's almost like he is like a saint, kind of like Tim Robbins. That's the thing I don't like. We found that pattern. And even though he comes off as a dick, he is essentially Tim Robbins is right in every single moment of Shawshank.
What about Don Corleone? When is he ever wrong?
He's wrong. I mean, he kills people. What are you talking about?
No, he orders people to be killed.
I mean, there's many things he's wrong about. You know?
All right. I'll think of another example, but you probably hate that movie too. But Ferris Bueller, on the whole, what's interesting about Ferris Bueller is all your arguments against it, not all of them, but the first 80% of them made me think, I'm like, yeah, that's what's great about it. Like your arguments sound great. Even to you, you're like, as I'm saying this, you're like, oh wow, this is something.
It's like
plus, it's just pure fun. I mean, the driving, the Ferrari is amazing. What Do You Have a Kiss for Daddy is great. That whole stuff. It's just pure fun. I mean, the cutting school, the parade scene is just magical. There's so many great jokes in there. So many good jokes.
I guess I don't need to see people having fun. I guess that's not fun. I mean, you know what I mean? For me, it's like fun is like Big Lebowski is fun.
Your interpretation of the movie is making a child cry. There's a kid crying. That's how shitty your feelings are.
I don't believe in fun.
No, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Hopefully. Should I? Yeah, we got a kid crying. I've been
That's all
ignoring.
right.
I've been ignoring this baby the whole time.
We've-
Probably wants to eat or something.
We've lost everybody. Everyone that's tuning in is like they're 35 minutes in on one movie.
All right, we should move on. Is this too distracting? Should I like go up and kill?
No,
the
I don't
baby?
care. It's a kid crying. What are you gonna do? I mean,
What if I went up and it just suddenly stopped, and then I came back down, and you're like, "Did he kill that baby?"
you have just a couple specks of blood in your glasses.
Anyway, I need characters to be flawed, you know. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, move on. Okay, can we talk? All right. So what are the other ones we got? Why don't we say which ones we have today?
Blues Brothers, Fugitive, Untouchables,
and Backdraft, which
and
I really
Backdraft.
want to tap.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about what I love.
Your
So,
choice.
Backdraft, which okay.
You
so
love.
Well, let me. I think it's. I'm trying not to say the R word. My friend watching this, he said I say the R word too much. It's blissfully stupid, but this might be also like a. This is a movie I watched as a kid. You know how you have movies? Did you feel like this? There was movies as a kid you just watched all the time. Movies on loop. It's just movies you just. Because as a kid you just rewatch things, and I just feel like everyone has maybe 30 movies that just happen to be on loop when they were a kid. You know?
Yeah.
And it's a little different for each person. For some reason, Backdraft was one of these movies. It was just on loop. And recently I was like, I want to watch that again. And it's so exciting. You ever watch a movie you haven't seen in like 20 years, but you used to watch it all the time? It's so exciting to watch because you're like, you find out just how much you actually remember. You watch a scene and you're like, oh, now I know how that scene ends. And I didn't even think about it before. I start recalling, you know?
Okay, so you're blowing my mind right now because for me, and I know why, my family's all firefighters. It came out when I was 9, and all my family's, my uncles are all firemen. They're all obsessed with the fire department, Irish, the whole thing.
And the movie is very much honored, like is honoring the fire.
It's all firemen, and the character is so much like two of my uncles because I have two uncles that are brothers into the fire, and the older brother is the captain of the fire department. Literally, I mean, my family is this movie, and then he has a kid brother on the fire department.
So this movie, wow, so this is a real connection.
This is real deep connection. It was one of my favorite movies. I was also obsessed with De Niro as a kid and all that shit. And so I watched that movie legitimately, I'm not even exaggerating, probably 70 times in my life. And I hadn't watched it in years, and I watched it during pandemic. And I'm like, I know every single line to this movie.
Was it like me where you're like, did you already know it all? Or was it like me where you'd watch a scene and then once watching it, what happens at the end of it? Like it comes back to you.
Already knew it all.
Oh,
I know each scene, yeah.
So watching it is fun. There's some hilarious tropes right away that just do not hold up, which are just hilarious. But it's a fun way. It's fun. But the first thing that made me just laugh hysterically is he sees his father die in the fire, and then the helmet just flies out and lands at his feet, which is like...
And it's not like piping hot or melty or anything.
It's not piping hot. I think there's smoke coming out of it, so it feels like it's like Looney. It's like Looney Tunes. It feels like you're watching like the Roadrunner cartoon. It is such an outdated trope that they are doing in a very serious moment. Like, whoa, like the hat just flies out, which is crazy. Like he's in a fire, and if that happened in real life, no matter how sad you'd be like, well, this is one in a million. Right. The hat flies out at its feet. It lands at its feet.
And nobody attends to him. The photographer snaps a photo and walks away. I mean, the slow-mo is ridiculous.
It's
like all the slow-mo in the movie is ridiculous.
But it's Ron Howard, so it's so entertaining.
I mean, Kurt Russell saving a little black baby in slow-mo, and his brother just sits there like helplessly like, oh my, and his brother just gives up. And that scene, I'm skipping ahead, but when his brother is just like, oh, I guess... Oh, Billy Baldwin is just like, he's sitting on the ground crying. He's like, my brother's dead. I can't do anything. And then the music changes. Da-na-na-na. Here he comes running out with a baby, an axe in one hand and a baby in the other hand. The craziest, stupidest, most R-worded part of the movie.
I think we're going to talk about it. Maybe the same thing.
I'm
obsessed with this one aspect of the movie.
If I say the most retarded part and you don't agree, you're wrong. The most retarded part is when Bull and Axe have their face-off on the bridge at the end, the big gas fire, and Axe is holding an axe, and he swings it from one side to the other. You know what I'm talking about? He's holding it.
Yeah.
I have a bat. He does this. It's like a big, bold move, and they're facing off like they're gonna fight each other with axes.
Yeah, it suddenly becomes Mortal Kombat. It's not really that much of an action movie. It's actually like a drama. It's a very bizarre movie because it's like a thriller. Essentially, it's about a serial killer, a serial arsonist. It's a thriller. It's both a thriller, a drama, and like a honoring fireman movie. But all right, that part is ridiculous. But I think the most ridiculous part, and I love it, like I love how stupid this is, when they go into the philosophy of the fire, where they start, like there's a part where Bull and the brother are running up the stairs. And the fire shoots out and Billy Baldwin gets scared and Kurt Russell literally, these are actual quote, he goes, "Don't show the fire, you're afraid. If it comes at you, you come right back at it."
Right.
She's like, what does that mean?
Well, that, and then there's the scene with Shadow, Robert De Niro, who's fantastic.
Amazing, the monologue.
He's teaching Billy Baldwin, and he goes, "It's a living thing, Brian." And then you're like this, no, it's not.
It's not a living thing.
It's a fire. Fire is not a living thing.
Why are they having the views of like Native Americans from like 4,000 years ago? Like they're like, the fire is the spirit god, and you should not. Like,
maybe that could be something to it. Shadow, Bull, they sound like Native Americans. Maybe there's a Native American in-depth aspect, fireman, or
I mean, it's definitely an archetypal movie. Like it's definitely like an archetypal movie about two brothers. There's like some primal shit, but like De Niro's speech is insane in that moment. It's insane. It's like just what he's saying means literally nothing.
It doesn't make sense.
The fire's alive, and to fight the fire, you have to really show that you're not afraid,
and you gotta love it a little.
You gotta love it a little. These are no ways to fight a fire. None of that is helpful when fighting a fire. And these are actual firemen using this as like advice to someone training. They're saying, he's telling him, if a fire comes at you, you got to come back at it just as hard, which I don't know. It's just insane how little that makes sense.
How about this aspect? Billy Baldwin's character, he just comes and goes as he pleases on the fire department. Like at the end of the movie, he just puts on a jacket and jumps in. Like he does it a couple times where you're like, you cannot do that. You can't like just grab a coat and jump on a fire truck.
He has like a card from the mayor where he can just do any job at any time. He's like forever an intern at every job. He just like, he's in the fire department very quickly. Then he leaves to become like an arsonist investigator. And then he jumps right back into the, like they would be like, we already have 9 of us. You're throwing it off. You know, there's like a number system, right? Like you can't just like
insane. And then the fire at the end, the chemical fire. I mean, that's when it just goes full action movie. It's a Batman movie after that. They're running on the fucking roof, and the roof.
It's great, and it is not like that before. Ron Howard is more concerned with the brothers' relationship, so it's not really that much of an action movie. So when the ending is just insane. There's just so many explosions, and also. Not to ruin it, but the arsonist turns out. So there's this. Also, the other thing I love is how Donald Sutherland, they just throw in a Hannibal Lecter thing at the end. They're like, why not? That just came out where Donald Sutherland's like, I'll tell you how to catch it, but first you have to tell me about your personal life. Like he does, like they just throw that in there from Silence of the Lambs.
Well, how about the fact that on their trial they meet for whatever the whatever you call it, the board to let him go, and they're all like. You meet the approval. You're gone. Get out there and live a life. And then it takes De Niro cutting them off. I don't even know if he was invited to be like, what would you like to do with the whole world? He's like, burn it all. And they're like, oh, geez. Like, they let him go.
They not get to that. Like, all you had to do was ask him that. He'd say that. And they're just like, yeah, no, that's hilarious. That part is so funny. Like, he would have just. If he wasn't there, he just has to go there each year. He can't like he can't like say, like, make sure to ask him what he wants to do with the world. Like he just has to make sure he's there. Otherwise they're just going to let him go and he's going to burn down the entire world.
Right.
Which, you think they'd ask maybe at some point, would you like light a fire again? You know what I mean? Like I feel like you should ask. I feel like if you're letting someone out of jail, you should definitely ask, would you commit that crime that you're in jail for again?
Yeah.
That's like maybe question number 1.
Terrible board, but I do think the mystery of it is written well, where you think it's him, and then you find the chemicals. Kurt Russell is amazing in this movie.
He's great. Billy Baldwin is as bad as Kurt Russell is good.
Yes, he's not great, but Kurt Russell is tremendous. I think it's one of his
Great
best.
actor.
And J.T. Walsh, who's one of my favorite character actors ever, is great in this movie. Really great. I love that guy. I'm sad he's dead. He's great. Sutherland is great at the silly role he plays. De Niro is still great then.
I don't understand why De Niro's. It seems like a weird part for him. It's a very small part for like a pretty big movie star.
But that movie was huge at the time.
It was like it was a big hit, right?
And
I feel like people have forgotten it.
I was reading about it recently, and you forget because we were young. It was wildly advanced in the technical aspect.
Yeah,
like,
and that's why it was made, right? Like I assume that was kind of Ron Howard wanted to make a movie about like fire. Like film really want to deal with how to direct fire in a movie, right?
Yeah.
And it is incredible. The backdraft stuff is incredible. Every time the fire shoots out, it's incredible. I remember as a kid, this was the first time I ever saw charred bodies in movies, and I thought it was so graphic and scary.
Clint Howard, great cameo.
Clint Howard. I will say, if you're in the arsonist, not to spoil it, but the arsonist turns out to be the fireman who gets called on all the jobs to put out the fire he created, which is not smart, I'd say. To just light fires and then know you're going to have to go back there to put them out.
Right, but
because you can't die.
But he designed them to blow out before. That's the whole thing.
But then they don't blow out sometimes, right?
No, they all do. It's just one of them, Tim, dies in.
Well, how does Tim die? That's clearly an accident. That's clearly an accident. Does he die, or you don't really know what happens?
That's the whole plot. He doesn't die, but he's all fucked up. But that's the whole thing. Is like, why did you have to go in there? And that's why he's like, you fucked up. And he's like, you weren't supposed to go up there yet.
Oh, was it? Was that designed to kill someone later?
Yeah, it was supposed to kill someone later, but Kurt Russell was so gung ho that was the whole thing. He knew fire the best. He's the smartest. So it fucked up because. That's why it's.
All right, never mind. His plan of lighting fires to get more budget into the fire department is a great.
Well, obviously, you're changing your point now, though. But the point is, he didn't actually have to fight any of the fires. They were designed. He knew fire so well. That's what Donald Sutherland was saying.
No, you're right.
Start a fire that would blow up and blow itself out, so the fire department didn't have to deal with it.
You're right.
It is written pretty.
No,
well.
It's written well, and there's some good, like, the lighter fluid. There's some good, like, Scott Glenn is great in it. He's actually just a fantastic actor.
Fantastic.
My brother said something funny about the movie. He's like, it's nice to see, like, with the arsonist, you really see civil engagement back then. Someone who really cares about getting funding to. I also think it's insane any city like cutting the budget of the fire department. That's just like a very counterproductive idea. But
of course, certainly.
But he's very civilly engaged. He's trying to get money back to the. He cares about the city. So
yeah.
No,
it's a pretty brilliant script, honestly.
It's interesting because how I'm like So Ferris Bueller wasn't a movie I grew up with. So now you're like, it's so great. And I'm like, it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. And then Backdraft is a movie I grew up on. So I'm saying it's stupid. It doesn't make sense, but I love it. Like, I love how stupid. I don't know if we'll never know if that's the childhood bias or not, but I just think it's such a fun movie.
I just think it's written and performed very well. I mean, the scene where, first of all, Jennifer Jason Leigh, fucking insanely hot. Wildly hot. And then you see her tit for a second.
The women are a little, where?
On the fire truck. It's a quick, I used to pause it. It's like she's moving downward and you can just see it blurry for a second.
Yeah, I missed that.
Beautiful.
Women are very underused in the movie, but that's par for the course in that movie.
Rebecca De Mornay is great. And that scene where he's crying outside drunk, I related to it so much. That was me 100 times. And then the next morning when she's like, I just can't. And with the sun, I mean, it's pretty beautiful. It's quite touching.
Yeah, no, there's some touching things. Kurt Russell makes the movie. He makes the movie. He's fucking great.
He's phenomenal.
It's so stupid. It's so fun. I loved it. Yeah.
All right. We got to move on to, I feel like we should go to Blues Brothers because I feel like you're going to trash one of my real favorites.
Well, we spaced it out well because now we're kind of connecting with Backdraft. I couldn't do Blues Brothers and Ferris Bueller's back to back. Here's the thing.
I assume Fugitive will agree on.
Yeah. I couldn't even get through all of Blues Brothers, but I was also rushed for time. But like, I just don't get it. I thought there was it's one of the things I think about 80s movies where I'm like, are they comedies? Because where are the jokes? That's my question. There's one hilarious joke in the beginning, which I did laugh out loud about. I was about to text you where the nun starts hitting them.
I mean,
that part's great. That part's
there's
great.
a million jokes in there when she's hit. I mean, every second it's hitting them.
After that, I was like, where's the next joke? I'm like 40 minutes into the movie. They've destroyed 3 cities. The cars have broken into everything. There's a woman with a fucking bazooka just blowing up buildings. I'm like, where's the joke? Like, it's just like action.
Well, those themselves are jokes. I mean, obviously the over the topness, having where they have 800 police cars, they're toppling everywhere. That is in itself a joke. That's funny. It's over the top.
I don't get. It's over the top. He runs through a toy store, which is very reckless. He could have killed. In reality, he would have just killed like 8 kids right there. But like, whatever. I get
the whole scene where they're just naming things. I mean, the joke.
What's the joke?
I can't believe I have to explain a joke, but the joke is they're casually causing all this wreckage and just pointing out things in the mall. Pier 1 Imports.
Yeah, I mean,
new Oldsmobiles are in early. I mean, they're just subtly chatting when they drive through.
And I'm telling you from an adult perspective, because you love this as a kid.
Yes.
I don't know what that joke doesn't hold up. The joke that holds up is the nun hitting them while they're cursing and they can't stop cursing. And she keeps on hitting them. And there's that moment where she's like between the shoulders. And then she gets the log.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a great joke, but there's not.
Another joke. He can't get in the desk. He has to go from the side and slide in.
That is great.
That's a great joke.
Same moment, though. That's the same scene. But all the other moments of the movie are like this like lack of buildup when they go to the restaurant, to like the fancy restaurant.
50 jokes. I mean,
what
I'm going to name all the jokes. I mean, I'm going to name so many jokes. Ray Charles, they're talking to Ray Charles, and then a kid goes to steal a guitar and he just fires off 2 shots out of his gun, blind. Breaks my heart to see a kid. I mean, he almost shot a kid in the face. He didn't miss it because he's blind. I mean, that is like crazy.
It's like
they continue.
It's cute. It's cute. It's cute.
He's shooting a gun at a kid. The blind guy is shooting a gun at a kid who's trying to steal a guitar.
All right. There's about an hour between that and the nuns hitting them.
The scene at the restaurant. Chez Louis. I want to buy your girls. How much for the wife? The little girl. I want to buy your women. I mean, hilarious. Their offensive smelling is so funny. At least we got to change the clothes, sucker. You wearing the same shit you had on 3 years ago. That's hilarious. One of my favorite lines in any movie ever. Right here. They're driving and he goes, did any of those guys ever write you? And he goes, they're not the kind of guys that write letters, man. Amazing joke.
I guess I don't really understand. I'm kind of, it feels like an inside joke I'm not in on. This is like, they're blues musicians, but somehow they're criminals.
Yeah, that's the joke. They're criminals who are a blues band. And then don't you relate to it from a comedy perspective? They just want to play the blues. They're bad people. They're not good at being people. They're idiots. They smell. They drink beer. They're poor. But they're musicians.
Well, I'm going to sound like probably a real idiot right now, but is there blues music in the movie? It feels like it's all like rock and roll or R&B.
Well, they're rhythm and blues and blues review. They're influenced by the blues. They love.
I guess I haven't heard one blues song in it yet. There's no like da da da.
Well, Sweet Home Chicago is a blues song, but they have a horn section they've developed. John Lee Hooker plays a full song in there.
Yeah, it also becomes a musical halfway through. It waits way too long to start singing.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis. That whole stuff is great. 1060 West Addison.
It's like cute, but it's not like laugh out loud funny. The nun part is laugh out loud funny. There's an escalation. The joke of them not being able to stop cursing. That's a solid joke. The other things I really think are just fun things you loved as a kid. What I'm hearing right now, if you just, I'm going to say it. I think you're biased, and I guess we'll never know. But I'm a little more objective here because I'm watching it, and I'm saying those jokes don't, and maybe they're groundbreaking at the time. They don't hold up.
Here's another. Okay, I think you should switch to I don't like the jokes and not there are no jokes.
Okay, fine.
Here's another one. One of my favorite jokes ever. He goes through the apartment. How often does the train go by? So often you won't even notice. And the train is going by an impossible amount of time. It's not possible for the train to go by that many times. It's just continuously going by and shit is falling off his fucking wall. Hilarious. He's cooking toast on a coat hanger.
I don't really get, they're funny lines. I guess I just don't fully get who the characters are. Like, these are characters from an SNL thing, right?
Yes, and they were raised by nuns, and then Cab Calloway would play them the blues downstairs. And so they're orphans, so they're shitheads.
And do we already know this going into it?
No, he goes downstairs.
Because it's an SNL. No, I'm saying it's an SNL sketch, but the SNL sketch was very.
No, I never watched the sketch or anything. But they go downstairs, and Cab Calloway says, he's like, "You're the one that raised us, playing Elmore James tunes down here." And he goes, "Well, we need to raise money for the church." I mean, and then just
guess I
driving
don't-
around with the
yeah.
huge speaker, you two girls, you on the bike.
I don't think I got that far.
It's great. It's great
I
stuff.
just didn't get it. I don't find Dan Aykroyd funny. I've never found Dan Aykroyd funny. He's never made me laugh, and he says half the lines in the movie. I still don't fully get John Belushi. I guess he's like a good dancer or something. He's like fat, but he's graceful. But like, I just don't find him funny. I don't find John Candy funny in that movie. I just don't find it. I just don't. It's everything I don't like in an 80s movie. It's like 2 jokes and the rest is action.
There's a lot of action in it.
There's so much action.
I mean, it's silly. It's over the top. The music to me is fun and great. And I don't know. I just love all those jokes that I just mentioned. There's a million more like that. Subtleties. You got my cheese whiz, boy.
And he has the cheese whiz. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like I recently rewatched Austin Powers, and I'm like, there's like no, like it just doesn't seem funny. I don't know. I don't know if it's like I think maybe SNL is for like a younger people, like middle schoolers, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
and then it doesn't really hold up comedically.
Another scene with Bob's Country Bunker. I mean, we're the good old Blues Brothers boys band from Chicago is great. I mean, they finished Stand By Your Man and like 400 bottles hit the fucking cage and smash. There's so many great moments.
I guess I just found it boring. And then they have to go to each person and convince them to be on the band. And you know they're going to convince them at the end, but they have to have like 20-minute scene of them convincing them. And then Aretha Franklin sings a song. I mean, like, I guess if you love the music, maybe I'm not, you know, maybe I don't love that kind of music as much. Maybe it was all, if they were folk brothers, maybe I would have liked it more. If they were like, I know. The three music genres I hate the least, I hate the most, which is very bad, but it's true. My least favorite are rap, blues, rap, jazz, and reggae, which is all like very
100% black. Yeah.
I know. I'm very, and my favorite music genres are folk and country. But anyway,
that's hilarious.
That's for another time. And my favorite rapper is Eminem. But anyway,
is Raanan the most racist man alive? Come back for episode 4.
I will say though, it does. I do will say it is. If that movie was made today, there'd be all these annoying liberals saying it's cultural appropriation. It's cultural appropriation. They're just appropriating black culture the whole time. And I will say cultural appropriation is kind of a bullshit thing because it should be called cultural appreciation. It's good. And you know who doesn't like R&B? The KKK. Like racist people don't want to culturally appropriate because they hate the culture. So I'm just saying people would call it cultural appropriation, but I think it's actually like I think it's actually a very non-racist, the opposite of racist. I mean, I guess you already.
Of course.
I'm preaching to the choir here.
I mean, of course, I agree. I mean, to me,
but there's a lot of people I
points.
wouldn't be, but there's a lot of people who would think that, you know.
Yeah, of course. I completely agree. I've even felt this. I mean, this is more controversial and a deeper thing, but even the thing of like, can I touch your hair? Like black people's hair. Yeah. That's considered the most like fucked up racist thing. But I'm like, well, isn't that, I mean, a racist person would never want to touch a black person's hair.
Yeah, it'd be like disease and stuff.
Yeah,
like, don't
touch from me, you piece of shit. So I understand why that's offensive. It's been explained to me, but to me, I'm still like, wow, I think that person is just like, wow, neat. I want to connect with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. Here's the thing: it is wrong to say touch your hair, but it's also wrong to ask to touch anyone's hair.
Yes, I understand why.
It's like an invasion of personal. I think a lot of things are also just maybe a little made up. I think manspreading is a completely made up thing. I don't think that's ever been a real thing. I think that's just something we've made up. And now, like when you spread your legs on the subway.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I've seen women spread their legs, you know, basic instinct, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think, well, that's not real, but I just don't think like, I mean, that's not a good example, but I just don't think like, I think that's like a made up thing, but obviously agree. I'm actually the woke one on this. This is the first time I've ever been a woke person on a podcast.
Yeah. Your last episode, you had a bunch of dumb woke points that I hated.
My last podcast was with Dan Perlman, and he made me delete every episode.
Oh, really?
Well, he just like, you know, he's it's just like I was like the inappropriate one.
Oh, I see. I love.
But you're a bad influence on me. I'm trying not to say the R word.
Yeah, that's fair. That's nice. That's good. You're trying.
I don't know, but
let's talk.
Yeah.
So we got to get to Untouchables,
yeah.
and I want to talk about The Fugitive. Where are you at with the Untouchables?
It's been a while. I didn't have time to watch that. I remember it's fun. It's very fun. David Mamet wrote the script. De Niro beats the guy with the baseball bat. I remember being very fun. I remember being probably a little like corny and sentimental, but like a fun movie.
It's
right?
fun. There's some good parts, but I find, how do you feel about this? I hate that De Palma gets to be in that group of the New York fucking.
Yeah.
It's like
He is the
Scorsese,
lame duck, isn't he?
Spielberg, Coppola, and De Palma, and I'm like, I'm sorry, this guy, he ain't cutting it. I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's more than that. So the 5 people who are like really good friends in the beginning were Scorsese, Coppola, Spielberg, De Palma, and Lucas.
All right. You
That
could
was
just
like the
added
whole-
Lucas. You just named my list. And then you just said the whole list again and then added Lucas.
You didn't say Spielberg, did you?
I did say Spielberg, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, De Palma is... Did you see his documentary?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed watching it, yeah.
Actually, great. He's had so many flops. Like, I've never seen someone have more flops, you know?
Yeah, I think Untouchables is like the only like hit. Oh, Carrie's great.
No, he had a couple. Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
But I also see like De Palma's the only one who like, I guess they're all influenced by Hitchcock, but De Palma's the only one who's like, I'm just going to try to like make homages to Hitchcock in most movies. He's never like risen above Hitchcock.
Lucas stinks. I think Lucas just stinks. That guy stinks.
Yeah, it's the worst. Yeah. I truly think, and I really believe this, Star Wars is the most overrated thing of all time. That is the most overrated thing. It's unnecessary. It's 1.5 good movies that they've turned into 42 movies in a franchise, and they all suck, and I hate it.
No argument here. Empire Strikes Back is the best of those movies, and Return of the Jedi was fun when I was a kid, but it's completely absurd.
Yeah.
And all the ones since are just garbage.
So stupid.
And it's they're just money grabs at this point.
Yeah,
It's just goofballs. I mean, Baby Yoda is like atrocious. They're like, we'll sell this doll. That'll be viral.
It's not art if you're making it just to sell toys. It's not exactly art. It's a commercial. It's the same thing with
100%.
Marvel movies. Every Marvel movie, if the goal of your movie is to get people to watch the next movie in the franchise, then it's not art. It's literally a commercial. It has a very specific agenda for you to spend money on something else. That is a commercial. Scorsese was 100% right when he said Marvel is just an amusement park ride. They fucking suck. And but anyway,
Coppola said similar stuff too, and I completely agree. I've said it myself before those guys. I can't stand that shit. It's fucking horrible. And that's what I always thought with Star Wars. I'm like, why not create a new world? And the answer is it's harder to sell the fucking tickets.
Yeah, exactly. And now they also do things where this is a whole other side thing, but this is gonna make me sound really unwoke. But they do all the female Ghostbusters and the Japanese Lion King or the whatever, the lesbian Spider-Man, and all that is using diversity just to not have to think of an original idea. You're using diversity just to not have to write something new. It is completely commercial and cynical. You can include diversity in movies. Think of something new.
Completely, I agree, and I had a similar point with the movie The Post. You saw that movie?
Yeah.
Where they made Meryl Streep this hero, and you're like, she didn't even do it. Ben Bradley did the thing. She was just like, okay, go ahead and print it. Yeah. I mean, literally, that was her role in it. And Ben Bradley, he was the one, the Tom Hanks character, I think. He was the one putting his ass out there. And I'm there are female heroes. You could find some actual female heroic stories. She didn't do the thing here.
It's a weird movie, The Post. It's a weird movie to have the hero be the rich person who owns the newspaper.
Exactly. But that was who the woman was. And they were like,
also that movie did I actually thought it was kind of a fun movie, but it made a very silly decision to have both Bob Odenkirk and David Cross in it wearing wigs. It makes you feel like you're watching Mr. Show, like half the movie. I was like, they had like David Cross and Bob Odenkirk like running around with both wearing fake wigs. And I'm like, it's like distracting.
Yeah, it's a little silly. The silly goose made that fucking movie. It's a little.
But what movie were we just talking about? Blues Brothers. Oh, Untouchables. Yeah, Brian De Palma. I don't really get him. I thought Untouchables was okay. I mean, like, I don't remember too much, but Sean Connery's good.
Yeah, he won his Oscar, and Costner. I think Costner is great, or was great, anyways. And it's fun. I mean, there's some silly points, but it's fun. De Niro's a little over the top. He's a little goofy. It's not De Niro at his best. The Capone character could have used work. Yeah.
The baby carriage going down the steps?
Yes.
Once again, with De Palma being more of an homage, that's just a scene from Battleship Potemkin, this old Russian movie. So he just recreates stuff a lot. It's like he doesn't, think of his own thing as much,
Yeah. I mean, Tarantino does that a lot too, but
true.
Yeah, Untouchables, fun. Always liked it. Yeah.
Let's talk The Fugitive, because that I saw recently.
Okay, let's get into The Fugitive. I mean, I love The Fugitive.
I think The Fugitive is great. One of the great things about The Fugitive, and it keeps it really running like a motor, is that it goes right into the action so quickly. It's just amazing. That movie is so tight. It doesn't have any fat on it. To the like any other one who made that movie would show them as like a married couple having fun the night before. It'd be like a boring scene, and then and then she get married. The fact that they just start with him being arrested, and then like 10 minutes into it, he's literally jumping off a fucking bus as a train's about to hit it is just so like. I feel like it makes it so much more intense than most movies.
And the train crash was real. They really crashed a train. You got another baby crying over there.
Yeah. Jesus.
But
I heard the baby cry, and then a thump, and then the baby not cry anymore. But
I'm sure it's fine. But yeah, they really crashed the train. That was a real stunt they did. It wasn't a model or anything. They really blew it up.
That part's awesome. I will say this. It's interesting to me, the movie, because Tommy Lee Jones is actually the main character.
Yes.
He's actually the character who changes, who has like an arc. Harrison Ford is actually fairly boring in the movie. He doesn't really have an arc. He's just there. He's just running around. But Tommy Lee Jones is the movie. It's kind of an interesting thing because they don't say it out loud, but he is the main character. He goes through the arc and he goes through the changes, and he's the one that's interesting to watch.
Yeah, and he won an Academy Award for it, ironically, for Best Supporting Actor, even though
I'd say it should have been Best Actor.
Yeah, and he beat out Ben Kingsley and Ray Fiennes for Schindler's List, same year, which is interesting.
I think Ray Fiennes should have most certainly won.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Lee Jones is good, but Tommy Lee Jones is also just like, sometimes people win an Academy. I mean, he is great in it, but a lot of times people love an actor, but it's really, in some ways, the first time really seeing him be himself, That was just Tommy Lee Jones kind of being Tommy Lee Jones, which is great.
Well, it's amazing what a script does for a movie, though, because I watched Under Siege recently, and Tommy Lee Jones is the bad guy, and it's goofballs over the top. He's ridiculous because it's not a great script, but he's amazing, pitch perfect in The Fugitive.
No,
but
great
I love
actor.
that movie. That's one of my favorite movies ever. And obviously, Tommy Lee Jones. Also, another movie. It's funny. This is two movies where he's the main character in No Country for Old Men. You don't realize it.
Yeah, he's the main character.
The movie's about him. He's the old man, which is
and he got nominated for. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that, which is, I feel like he is the main guy.
Well, that's the most. Now we're going to talk about No Country for Old Men, which is again in my top 10. One of the greatest movies ever. One of the greatest movies ever, and I think the most misunderstood thing about that film, and I tell this to people that haven't seen it and they're going to watch it the first time.
I'm interested to hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I say, watch this movie knowing, I'm just going to tell you that the movie's about Tommy Lee Jones. You'll enjoy it more if you watch the movie going, okay, this is a movie about Tommy Lee Jones's character. He's the old man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and he's the guy.
That's what because people think it's about Josh Brolin, and they get frustrated because Josh Brolin is killed off camera, and you don't find out what happened with the money, and it ends with Tommy Lee Jones talking about a dream. So people are like, "What the fuck is this shit?" So it's better going this movie's about this guy. This is a movie.
100%. Yeah, no, he is the core of the movie. His face in that movie is just incredible. The amount of baggage and experience. I always like to think of the movie with Fargo. It's almost like Marge grown up. Because like in Fargo, she's very naive. And at the end of Fargo, she kind of like loses her innocence and sees how bad people can be, but still kind of maintains a little of her innocence. And then No Country for Old Men is like Marge at the end of her life. Like she's seen how evil people are and she's lost almost all faith. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what
just a masterpiece. Like you just can't say enough about that movie.
No Country for Old Men. No Country for Old Men is very interesting to me because I think like Javier Bardem, his character is so interesting because what he does is he'll like go up to people and he'll put a gun in your face and it gives him a godlike power. He feels like he's death. Because like if someone if I put a gun in your face right now, not on Zoom, right? But if I was in the room with you and I put a gun to your face, you wouldn't really be thinking about me. You'd be thinking about death is in front of you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So when you put someone in a position where you're going to kill them, you become more than a human being. You become them having to confront their own death. So Javier Bardem in these moments is becoming more than a human. He is becoming death. And that gives him power. But then at the end, of course, you realize he is just a human being when he gets hit by the car. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's a human being who he's trying to become a symbol, but deep down, he's really just a human being, you know?
Right.
I think it's a fantastic movie, brilliant movie. The scene with the quarter and that guy is one of the greatest scenes ever, even though it is kind of like what Two-Face does, but whatever. Like Cormac McCarthy never realized like that's literally what Two-Face does, where he like flips a coin because he just doesn't read comic books. But that scene's amazing when he's like, he doesn't know what he's putting on the line. He goes, "You've been putting it down your whole life. You just didn't know it." It's just incredible. But yeah. Anyway, back to Fugitive. Fugitive's really good. The first half is way better. The second half it gets a little boring. The whole genetic thing is stupid.
Yeah, the end of the Fugitive. That is a movie that I can hit stop with 20 minutes left and be like, okay. Like
I totally did.
They're on the roof and the helicopter. It's just over the top. Joe Pants is great in that movie too.
Amazing. He's great. The black woman with the who's in there. She's great. The what's that thing on her head? The part like I actually when I was rewatching, I stopped it right when him and the bad guy are going upstairs. I'm like, all right, I'm done. Because you've already resolved the movie. Now you're just having an action sequence, which I just find so boring. You know what I mean?
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I can't even add anything. That's how much I agree.
I got another thing that's interesting about Fugitive that a movie in many ways kind of is just mirrors the exact plot of Fugitive. I guess a lot of movies do, but the movie that seems so similar is Minority Report.
I never watched Minority Report.
Then you won't find this. It's a great movie. Minority Report is actually pretty good, but it's the exact same beats.
Other movies like that, Wizard of Oz, E.T., same movie.
Was it a E.T.? Oh, like trying to get
It's a alien that's been thrown from their home, left behind in another foreign land, and then meets.
Oh, you're saying Wizard of Oz and E.T.
Yes, same.
I thought you were saying
movie.
they're like the Fugitive.
Oh, no. Wizard of Oz and E.T. are the same movie, essentially.
Yeah, they get thrown. They're trying to get back.
They're trying to get home, and they're using the local people that they have met and befriended to help them get back.
Except the kid's the main character in E.T., while in Wizard of Oz, it's the alien, Dorothy. It would be like if Wizard of Oz, it would be like if the Lion was the main character, you know?
True, and they're both named after not the main character. The Wizard of Oz is not the main character, and E.T. is not the main character.
E.T. is amazing, by the way. One of the great movies. I rewatched it recently. Are you a Spielberg guy?
I love Spielberg. I mean, I am a Spielberg guy. He does a lot of shit. I mean, Bridge of Spies, which the Coen brothers have their name on it, is one of the worst movies I ever saw in my life. I mean, it's Spielberg and the Coen brothers, and you're like, this is complete shit. It's one of those. Spielberg does a lot of those repeat the line type of movies like this. Thank you, Raanan. Thank you. Like those things where you're like, oh, yuck.
It's a lot of bad
cheese. But I'm of the opinion, if you're an artist and you can make 2 or 3, sometimes even 1 great thing, then you're a great artist.
Yeah, of course.
And he made Schindler's List, Jaws, and E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Hook. I love. I mean, those are some Saving Private Ryan.
Jaws is one of my favorite movies.
Just outside my top 10, probably top 12. But yeah, Jaws and Schindler's List, probably 11 and 12 if I did my top 12. And those are 2 masterpieces. So I can forgive.
Yeah, people who shit on Spielberg are fucking idiots. Also, E.T. is just like the most magical movie of all time. I just fucking
it's magical. I watched it 2 weeks ago. I cried when I cried.
Me too. I cried when he rides up and he's like, "You're going too high. You're going too high."
It's amazing.
The music's playing and he goes over the moon. It moves you on a primal level. I also think, by the way, that movie is a metaphor for death in many ways, because I feel like at the end when E.T.'s leaving, it's almost like when a kid dealing with his grandparents' death. You know, he says goodbye and then he kind of leaves, you know, and he also does die in the movie. So I see the movie as kind of like almost your first experience with death. That's how I view it.
Well,
I view one of the happiest movies as just a metaphor.
It is a terribly sad movie, and just the human aspect of the kid feels alone. Is the kids the older kids are mean to him, and that's what Steven Spielberg in that HBO doc talked about. That was great, where he said Lawrence of Arabia. I assume you watched the doc. And he said that movie was so meaningful to him because he saw at the beginning it's Lawrence of Arabia on a bicycle, and at the end it's just kind of him by himself again, and all this crazy stuff has happened in between. It's just still the same guy. It's similar with
right.
E.T. You just have a kid who's kind of lonely,
Back-
and all this crazy stuff happens. There's an alien and this bike, and then it's back to just this kid.
Just him, yeah. And in the end, if you watch it, thinking like the end does feel like saying goodbye to a grandparent. It really does. That's how I saw it. But yeah, E.T.'s great. Spielberg's great. What are the other Chicago movies? Have we talked about them all?
I think we went through all of them.
There's High Fidelity, which I love.
Oh, High Fidelity. That's another great one. I love that
love
movie.
High Fidelity. That's
Absolutely.
we're doing the list. I'm definitely putting that on the list, you know.
Oh yeah,
High
let's
Fidelity.
go through the list because we're 75 minutes in here. Let's
Also, before we go, I just want to say, have you read about Jeffrey Jones at all? His criminal thing?
I know he's a pedophile or something, right?
Kind of interesting. He got caught soliciting,
Yeah.
soliciting a 14-year-old boy for nude photographs, which is the worst kind of soliciting you can do out of all the soliciting.
Soliciting Huffman.
Yeah, and they also found a bunch of child porn on his computer. But this is what's interesting. I was reading about it. This was before Me Too. He kept on working after that.
Interesting.
He's been in 2 movies. He was in this movie called Where's Your Caddy, which was with Phase on Love. And then he was in the Deadwood movie, which didn't come out that long.
Oh, that's right.
So like, this is before, like, I feel like now if you get in trouble for child porn, that's the ultimate Me Too cancellation, right?
That's a wrap. Yeah, I would hope. I don't know, but that's what
Jeffrey Jones is working.
Yeah, that's so weird. I mean, so many of these people go under the radar with that stuff. There's other examples too that I can't think of. I mean, look no further than again, this is going to sound racial, but the National Football League. I mean, you got Ray Lewis in a suit fucking talking.
He murdered
football.
a guy, right?
He killed a person. I mean, and there's others like that too. I mean, Mike Tyson.
He's a commentator, right?
Mike Tyson is a cartoon. Michael Vick is a commentator. He was dog fighting and all that stuff.
But Vic went to jail. I do think if you go to jail, I mean, you should be a little redeemed if you do your time, you know?
No, I agree. They should be redeemed.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the great parts of our society. These people should all be allowed to be on TV. But I think Louis should also be able to, do a show without it being in the paper.
Because Tyson was accused of rape.
He was convicted of rape.
He was convicted of violent rape.
And then admittedly knocked out old ladies and stole their groceries. I mean, like,
wow, he was a poor kid, you got to do what you got to do. He was convicted of rape. But yeah, I feel like Louis, there's probably a lot of people Louis looks at who aren't canceled who's really annoyed by,
Yeah, but this is a whole other bag of hammers. Let's do the list. Let's do the countdown of Chicago movies. This is gonna be tough because I love all these films here.
All right, so what's everything's on the list is that we should
Ferris Bueller, Blues Brothers. I might have to write these down. High Fidelity, Fugitive, Untouchables.
There's something else.
Really
is it bad? Should I?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's too. Yeah, I mean,
what can you? I mean, there's nothing we could do about it.
It's a baby crying.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet I could ask them to go outside in the rain.
Did we miss one? That's 5.
Well, I could make the baby I think she's crying right by the door.
No, don't go anywhere. Don't go. We're almost done.
What's worse, sister or my mom?
This is great. Hold on. I had a list of the Chicago movies. Fuck.
Backdraft. We forgot Backdraft.
Oh yeah, Backdraft. That's what it is. All right, let me write them down. You talk.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of what would be at the end. I guess Blues Brothers has to be at the end because I didn't even get through it. That's at the end.
Yeah, that's at the end for you.
You want to guess each other's rank? You want to guess each other's?
Okay, sure.
Let me actually think about it real. Just give me 20 seconds. Hold on.
Backdraft, High Fidelity. Well, one of us has to talk because it's a podcast.
Okay.
Fugitive. Okay. Untouchables.
Well, you do your. Yeah, I'll guess. I'll guess your. You do your rank.
Get the movies.
Okay.
Okay, and then Ferris Bueller. So 6 of them. There's 6 of them.
Yeah. That's a good amount of Chicago movies. I'm sure they're going to comment that we forgot one.
Okay, so you want to guess my list?
Yeah, I think I can guess yours probably.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, number 1 has got to be Ferris Bueller's.
Yeah, I already gave you my top 10 movies, and it's the top 10, so that one's easy.
I mean, number 2 should be, and I'm assuming it is. If you have any sense, it's got to be High Fidelity.
I would say yes on that one. Yes,
High Fidelity is great. It's a great movie. It's a great book. I've read that book 5 times. That's a great.
I mean, we didn't even talk about it, but yeah, that movie's
It's just great.
amazing.
Jack Black's amazing. It is one of the great use of a Dylan song most of the time.
I love that song. One of my favorite Dylan songs ever.
Beautiful song. Oh, and Bruce Springsteen's like the guru in it. Yeah,
I love that.
Really, yeah. So 3 for you would probably, I guess 3 would be. This is an interesting one because you got The Fugitive, you got Untouchables, you got Backdraft, and you got Blues Brothers.
Yeah,
I feel like you would probably put. I feel like I guess you would put probably Fugitive, right?
Yes. So far, you're perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
I gave the first one away, so you got 2 and 3.
So there's just 3 more. There's just 2 more. What are the 3 left?
The 3 left are, well, I'm afraid to say because I'll say them in the wrong order. I don't want to give anything away. Untouchables, Blues Brothers, Backdraft.
Oh, okay. So the real question here is, are you going to choose for the next one Blues Brothers or Backdraft? I feel like that's clearly the question here.
That is a good
And
point.
This is a tough one because firemen are such a big part of your life. I guess you had a lot of relatives who are firemen and stuff.
Yes,
That's very
still do.
personal. But the other movie is Blues Brothers, which I guess you got. The problem is I said I liked Backdraft, so I didn't see how upset you got. If I would have said I hated it, I could have gauged the 2 upsetness.
Good point.
But I think you're gonna put Backdraft.
You got it. You got it again. Boy, you're very good. Very impressive.
And then, of course, then it's Blues Brothers, and then it's the Untouchables.
Yeah, you nailed it. All right, let me try to do yours now.
Well,
Okay,
hold on.
so
I haven't made it up yet. I gotta think of my list. Hold on.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
All right, I'll talk. But yeah, High Fidelity is the movie we talked about the least, and it is the best movie probably of all of these. Although I like Ferris Bueller better, but High Fidelity really touches me and is up there. Okay, so High Fidelity is your number 1
for sure.
Okay, and Fugitives 2.
Yes.
Okay. Backdraft has to be 3.
100%.
Okay.
I guess mine's obvious too. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, wait, what am I missing? Oh, okay. Now it gets tricky. I gotta say Ferris Bueller is 4, obviously, right? Ferris Bueller, you like better than Untouchables. You don't even remember Untouchables.
Even though I think I liked Untouchables more, honestly.
Oh, okay. So Ferris Bueller, and then Blues Brothers is obviously the bottom.
That's how little I like Ferris Bueller's. I'm like, I think I liked this other movie I vaguely remember, but I've seen Untouchables a bunch of times.
It really felt like as you were complaining about Ferris Bueller, you were realizing some things about Ferris Bueller that are great. I mean,
I'm being devil's advocate. You're right. Ferris Bueller's just before that.
There's amazing jokes in Ferris Bueller. I mean, there are some really great jokes and really touching, beautiful moments.
My favorite joke is when Charlie Sheen's on the chair. It's like, "What are you in for? Drugs?" And she goes, "No, what are you in for?" The way he says drugs, like the way he says
perfect.
Drugs.
I mean, it's
like,
pitch
He's
perfect.
actually kind of amazing in that.
It's amazing. It's the best scene. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. I mean, she's so funny in that. They're so great.
There's a big hole. I guess you got mine right? You guessed it all correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you admitted that you're an asshole.
Obviously, Untouchables, and then the movie I couldn't get through. Yeah. No, I mean, I think Ferris Bueller, by the way, I guess it's not the same, but we talked about Shawshank holes. There's a big hole in fucking Ferris Bueller, but I guess it's not the same since it's a broad comedy. Do you know what the big hole is?
No, tell me.
I mean, this fucking baby. Is it really loud on your end?
It's substantial. I can hear it. It's not a problem.
But it only started now, right? It wasn't the whole time.
Well, when you're talking, it's fine because I just hear you're a big baby talking.
Talk over it. Okay,
but when you stop, it's like tinnitus. Once the noise stops, I can just hear.
Well, that's fine. It's like white noise. So yeah, the big hole is. I mean, once again, I think it's a stupid joke because it doesn't make sense. When the father, I'll give you a hint. It's a scene with the father in the car and the hot girl who we're all pretending is a junior in high school, even though we've all I was jacking off to her during it. She's
hair flip during Twist and Shout. Forget it.
So fucking hot. What is she? She must be at least 20, right?
I gotta say she's 20.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the scene in that makes that is
What do you mean? Oh, that it's already in the newspaper? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, well then, yeah, it's written on the water tank. I mean, it's jokes. I mean, that's part of the jokes is that it's so caught up, it's gone completely insane.
Yeah, I guess it's very cartoony, which is weird because it's like it's not Airplane. You know what I mean? I guess I don't fully know the tone of it because it's not Airplane. There's a reality. He's just cutting school, but like I guess there's some pretty crazy things in it. I mean, the principal literally throws a bouquet of flowers onto a dog to knock him unconscious.
No, he eats them and he gets poisoned.
Oh, that's what it is?
Yeah, he eats the flowers.
I thought no, he throws it on his head.
That can't be true.
Of course that's true. What
I
a
think he
poison.
eats the flowers. Yeah, because the
How would he know
flowers have whatever the fuck.
What?
I think he eats the flowers and then he gets.
I think
passes
you
out.
made an assumption when you were a kid. I'm not blaming you. You know, the Abe Lincoln thing.
Yeah.
You know, the Abe Lincoln, I think you made an assumption as a kid and you stuck with it.
You might
Think
be
about
right. That could be fair.
Well, the bouquet's broken on the ground and he's unconscious next to it.
Oh wow, that baby
I
is
think-
out of control. I mean, I'm gonna hit that fucking baby. We gotta wrap up anyways, but yeah, maybe you're right. I guess he hit a fucking dog with a bouquet. I
He
mean, that's
threw the
crazy.
bouquet and broke the dog's head open. Yeah, and made him unconscious,
But Ferris Bueller was magic. I mean, we gotta wrap up because people are gonna hate us. But
someone should have wrapped up before this baby got born. Yeah, it's brutal. So what
it's getting closer. This is bad news. All right, this is a great episode. I think
This was great, right?
Sweet
I know,
Home
it's fun.
Chicago. I
Yeah.
loved it.
We found out I'm racist. We found out you didn't know how the dog got unconscious. I mean, that's what I think. I guess write it or post about it if you're like if you disagree or not. You know?
Yeah, and comment your list your 6 or disagree. Get some comments going. We want to get that algorithm going.
Yeah, get the comment. Comment with your rankings, and I guess most importantly, comment on who you agree with more about. Well, everyone's gonna agree with whose ranking you agree with more. I guess. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So do that. Spread the word, and thanks for listening. This was fun.
All right, I gotta go kill a baby.
All right, yeah, go do it. All right, see you, buddy.